Hello, Congressional Committee. My name is Sonia Colon, and I am currently a University of Maryland student. Today I come to you presenting you with the Philadelphia Foot Patrol experiment. This experiment was done by the Philadelphia Police Department in the summer of 2009. Reason being for this experiment was the steady increase of violent crime in Philadelphia. Studies show that from 2004 to 2008, there was a steady increase of violent crime of 1.43%. So the police department responded with foot patrols. A brief background of these foot patrols in Philadelphia. The deputy chief commissioner actually decided to implement these foot patrols in 2008. He did so basically on a theory that he believed that foot patrols and community policing was effective. However, there was no substance and no evidence to prove that they were actually being effective. So in 2009, the police department actually collaborated with Temple University in order to make sure that they were properly using their resources, but also to have some evidences of substance to prove that these foot patrols were actually effective. So in the summer of 2009, they decided to implement this randomized control experiment. They did it in the summer because studies show that violent crime in Philadelphia is most prevalent during the summer months. So that's how they got to the summer of 2009. With the help of Temple University, they were actually able to locate the top 1% of the most violent neighborhoods in Philadelphia. This came out to be to 120 neighborhoods. They did this through crime mapping. So with crime mapping, they were able to locate where these crimes were committed, what time these crimes were being committed, and exactly when they were being committed, which helped a lot during this experiment. So of these 120 cities or neighborhoods, 60 of these neighborhoods received the foot patrols. The other 60 were the control group, and they weren't given any additional resources. However, resources weren't taken from them. The police department would simply respond to these calls as they normally would, using a more reactive approach, as opposed to the foot patrols that were more of a proactive approach. The officers on these foot patrols were able to engage with the community. They were able to do a lot of community policing. The way the officers approached the foot beats were actually up to them. So some of them did a lot of community policing and visited juvenile detention centers or child care, and positively interacted with the members of the community, and others chose more of a crime-oriented approach. They stopped pedestrians, and they gave out citations at stoplights and things like that. So the way that they went about it was actually up to them. So for 3 months, for 6 days a week, 16 hours a day, I believe, these officers were on foot patrols. Obviously, they had different officers in different shifts, but ultimately the results were a lot greater than what the police department ever expected. Just to give you some numbers here. So violent crime actually decreased by 23%. Drug-related detection increased by 15%. Pedestrian stops increased by 64%. Vehicle stops increased 7%. Arrests increased 7%. So ultimately, the targeted group outperformed the controlled group by 23%, according to the study, which is amazing. That is far better than what the police department ever expected, and with this information, they were actually able to actually have some proof and some evidence that these foot patrols are actually effective if done right. If used correctly, and if their resources were used correctly, with the help of crime mapping, they actually had the evidence to back up their theory now. So overall, according to the study, this resulted in 53 prevented violent crimes for the summer of 2009. This was immense because public health, the violent crimes in Philadelphia were a huge public health threat. So by being able to reduce it by 23% in the summer of 2009 alone, I believe it proves that the program was very effective. And although there's not any information that I could find about about its cost effectiveness, I believe that these results alone prove that this experiment is worthy of the funding. If you are able to decrease crime by that much in a short span of time, given the right resources and given the right funding, I believe that is why this program should continue to be funded, and that's why I ask you to continue to fund this program, because it was immensely effective in reducing violent crime in Philadelphia. So I ask that you please continue to fund it, and I thank you for your time.